Hey everybody, let's make sure my audio is working. Looks like it is. Let's get some background music back on here. Just the volume of this thing too. Come on, audio play. All right. So I wait on whatever that is. There we go. All right. So last time we were working on the native song implementation. I'll say I did a little bit of work off stream over the weekend to get that further. Let me make sure I have the latest here. So yes, the native song implementation. When we were here last, we had put together the implementation that used OGG for audio. And what I wanted to do was get MP3 working as well. And I was able to do that. So let me grab our latest here, because I think I have some of it on another machine. Bear with me. So yeah, we wanted to add MP3, and in that process of adding MP3, I found a couple bugs and fixed some stuff. So I want to make sure that I have the latest here in order to share it with everybody and walk you through basically what I did so that you understand it. Let's see. There's a couple fixes here that I didn't bring across. Yeah, there we go. A couple small fixes that I forgot to bring across. I'm just pushing them across from my other machine. And pull them over here, and we should be good to go. There we go. Why did music stop? That's interesting. No, it wasn't set to loop. That's interesting. All right, so with that, let's share my screen. There's screen. There we go. Share. Oh. Bring in chat. It's a process getting started here. All right, and as always, if you guys have questions while we're going along here, just ask. So let's pull our latest here. There we go. Let's open our copy of Visual Studio, which I should probably, let me stop sharing for a second here. I have some sensitive stuff, so I don't want to show too much here. Bang, there we go. We're sharing back. That's the right place, yes. So a question. What do I think of SDL3 and the new GPU API? I haven't looked at it closely. I mean, the SDL team is kind of building their own library that sort of shares similarities with MonoGame in some ways, right? Like they're trying to build a full library that basically does everything a MonoGame does. We've only really used SDL for basically the window management, some of the input stuff, because the input stuff for SDL is actually very good. And I think that, they're going to continue to push that stuff forward, and that's great. For us, we're kind of forging our own path. We can't really depend on SDL because sometimes we have access to platforms that they do not. We feel like we just want to carve our own path, just like, not everybody uses their SDL for everything. So I think their stuff is probably great. I haven't really looked into it in detail. I know that we'll be expanding the MonoGame API further in the near future in order to add functionality in the graphics API that we haven't had in forever. So we'll be doing some more improvements there, but I don't think that we'll be using SDL directly or anything like that. Somebody asked about the music. Yeah, that's something new I picked up. It's a royalty-free music site. I forgot the name of this track, but I can look it up later. I'll share it maybe. But yeah, decided to change up the music. Needed something a little bit more upbeat, I felt. Let's see, anything else? Let's go on. Let's start here, actually. So where we left this is we had our tests in here. Test for audio, song test. So originally we just had one song test, and I've changed it to where we have the OG test. I haven't run this yet. Let's see if it works here. I haven't run it on here yet. Yep. So I changed this. I might have a mixed setup here. I think I changed the sound file that it was playing, but I didn't change the test. Let's see. Yeah, I changed it to the song file to have like a 1, 2, 3 kind of playback so that I could, test very specific cases here. And I think actually the problem is that I think it didn't build the native code to match here. That's something I really need to fix. Let's see. All right. Well, hopefully this will do it. Now run that again. All right, so it's working. Yeah, basically, I have it playing, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, in order to kind of get it to test the different cases, like playing and pausing and everything else, and resume. I think the test that I don't have in here is looping, but looping with song is really just playing a second time. It's not really seamless looping, and that's kind of the fault of the media player. It's not designed for seamless looping. So that's maybe its problem that we're not going to solve today. But I wanted to get this tested and working. So the other thing I did was we did MP3, which is the same basic test code, but the implementation is different, and I'll share that a little bit here. So with MP3, we went with this other library. Maybe I did do the MP3 stuff on stream. I forgot. We went with this other library, and the code ended up very, very straightforward. The OG code's pretty straightforward. I haven't raised my screen size here. The OG code's very straightforward, but the MP3 code is the same, basically. Again, audio is a pretty simple thing. At this point, it's very well known. So yeah, it's just a simple call to open the file. We do the same sort of decoding. We decode 250 milliseconds of audio per decode step, which is enough to keep it fed. Implemented seek so we can jump to parts in the audio. That's what that test does. 1, 2, 3, 2 or 2, 1 is it's seeking back to the previous location and playing. So we've tested that seek works. And the decoding loop is all working. It's very similar to before. It just says how much do I need to read, or how much it decides how much it's going to read. It reads one buffer, decodes one buffer is all this thing does. So this is our size and samples of our buffer, and it just loops till it reads enough of that. So it requests data, and once it gets the data, it finishes it out and continues. This is where if we wanted to eventually support seamless looping, which I think that we need to support in some way, like that might need to be something that we implement as a special case in the media player, because it never supported this originally. But in theory, we could support it. Is whenever you're playing a single media file and you tell it to repeat, we should probably support seamless looping, where it will automatically, when it gets to the end here, we have no more data. Like it goes to read, and the read is 0, or the read is partial, like it's not a complete chunk. Actually, it'll be 0, because if it doesn't read a complete chunk, it'll get here and it'll try to loop one more time, and it'll read again and say 0, I read nothing. So when it gets here and it's told, hey, you're supposed to loop, what it needs to do is seek to the beginning and start grabbing samples again. So this is where seamless looping would be implemented at some point. Ender's Pansar. I'm really bad at names. Hello. If we wanted seamless looping, this is where we would implement it. For right now, we just want this to work the same as the other platforms, but seamless looping is something we definitely need to address here because people have asked for it in the past. It is kind of annoying that it does not do that. So let's see. So everything else here is implemented just fine. The seeking and everything. Well, this is part of the main decoder, but the seeking for MP3 is implemented the same sort of way. This took a little bit of doing. You have like the time we pass in a time to seek to, so you have to kind of convert it into the position, in samples, because that's how this one wants it. So yeah, with that in place, the song test MP3 works as well. Same thing. So we have 2 tests here of song. It's fully working. So I think for today we might actually finish this out. I think our PR is up. I think it seems like everything here is good enough to pass this. The only thing that is not good enough that we might want to dive into, because it's also a bug in the audio system, is we don't have events set up. Meaning, in the old XNA API, pull that up here. Find it here. There it is. Dynamic Sound Effects class. So in this, there are basically these events. Where is it? There it is. Buffer needed. So the buffer needed event would come in whenever it's like, hey, it occurs whenever the play it's less than or equal to 2. So for this to work, which currently doesn't work in dynamic sound effect, for this to work, we actually have to send an event back. And polling kind of sucks. We don't want the C# code to constantly be having to check on a constant basis, hey, do I need to send this event? Currently, it does that. And I think that we do this on some other platforms as well. But first, let's clear out the song stuff, and then let's move on to that. That seems like the best way to do that. So I'm going to open the browser window, go to GitHub, make sure my PR is all good. And if one of the other guys is around, they can... Oh, there was also some other issues here, right? Everything here was implemented, but there were some failures in our build, and we were trying to figure out what that was about. Oh, it's building new ones, but failing check failed after 6 minutes. Let's see what's failing here in Ubuntu. Probably something simple. Yeah, errors. I get it. Errors is something that happens. Interesting. Recreated as a different entity. Oh, I see what the issue is. I think I see what the issue is. I think we slightly we changed this API, I think. And this is what's causing the problem. We changed this to this. Wait, that's fine. That's internal. I don't understand what its problem is here. Redeclared as different kind of entity. Mhm. You know, I was trying to do something cute here. And maybe that's I'm being too cute for this thing, even though I'm not sure why it failed now and it didn't fail before. Where is this? Is an MGM common. Huh. So why would that produce this error? Hmm. Hey, Simon. No, the chat on screen is on purpose. That's something that no. Let's see. Oh, I think I see what you're saying. Still have a question up. There we go. Let's see. This must be. Oh, there's a question. Zolkid's Delta meme. That may just be an MP3 quirk. 9% MP3s come with a short silence at the beginning. Yeah, I mean, some of them might, but it's not just that. I mean, technically, like letting the song finish playing and then starting playback immediately after always ends up giving like a little bit of an artifact at the beginning, and that's fine if it was in the audio file itself, but it's not. It's just because of the start of the playback. So looping the song to do it right, you really need to make sure that when it reads the end of the song, that if it ends in an odd size buffer, that it immediately starts reading the next buffer. So it needs to loop naturally, you know. Let's see. So why is this giving me trouble on? It's got to be this thing, and I was trying to be cute here. I was like, oh, I'll define signature as a define, and I can use it just here, and I can also use it over here, and then I don't have to think about anything. It's like, you know, that's probably not. It's too clever, maybe. You know, all I need to do is this, and if I want to be, I mean, this is all a internal API, anyways. So I can totally do this separately, and it doesn't need to be, you know, this is all internal to the system. So it's not like it's the public API. I can just do it this way and be done with it. Signature, the thing will be the same as the other one. Where is it? It was so that if I ever decide to change it, I could like change it across the board or something, but you know, whatever. That's not that important. This one can't be that. And we're just going to go by the convention. Like, who cares? Like, it doesn't need to pass in the size. This is the only place that uses this are these calls, and as long as these are defined correctly, then it's fine. Oh, that's that. I think this will fix the Linux issue. I'm still not convinced fully because it seems kind of odd that it would have this trouble at all, but whatever. That's for the order and the other. Where's the other one? There we go. There we go. I think that will all compile now. That works, and I'll push this fix, and we'll see what the build server tells us. Yep, we'll see what the build server tells us after this. Where's my window there? Come on. Oh, we're way over here. You're the wrong one. Okay, let's push this guy up. Change that signature. And then we change this here. Hopefully that will make oh, finger's not working today. All right, let's see what happens here with that. And these builds are still taking forever. I don't know why. I was hoping they would get to a update branch or whatever. I could have merged it the other way, but it's very helpful with GitHub that you can just hit update branch here and it updates your branch. Let's pull that over on my side. All right, so that has the latest of that. Why does it want an approval now? Nope, there it goes. All right, so that's going to build. So yeah, so I guess while this is going, we might go ahead and just look into the buffer event stuff. I won't change my what I'm working on stuff. It seems like that's good enough. Give me a second here. One second, just fixing a thing. Try to keep mindful that I need to be chatting while I'm on here. But I always forget. All right, so back to this. All right, so this is still busy. I will pull out off the side. So the dynamic sound effect stuff. So the core problem is that our implementation does not have doesn't have an API for this. So what happens is if I go to F audio here, that's a good enough one to look. There's nothing in the, or actually into, I guess that up, yeah. So there's nothing in this API that supports the concept of, hey, give me an event when I'm running out of buffers in a thing. And I can totally do that. I just have to write the special code. Let's see, Quirky. Hey everybody, music is a bit loud for me. I can barely hear Tom. All right, let's lower that music. Just a little bit. That seems better. Let me know how that feels. All right. Why is that complaining? Spelling error? Oh, screw you. I really hate the Visual Studios now giving us spelling errors. It's, a distraction. All right, so let's go look at the native side of this. So our native implementation here, yeah. So this code was in here before, and I think some of the other platforms were using it. They were basically saying, oh, loop through the sound, or check to see if the sound is missing a buffer handle, then do that, which this depends on like the main thread executing. It depends on this, to do this kind of thing. And I never really liked that implementation. This is actually wait, is this part of the main thing? It is, isn't it? Update playing instances, update queue. Yeah. Wait, why wasn't this? Maybe this is working. Let's check. Because I think I have a dynamic sound effect test in here somewhere. We don't, we should have one. We should have an event test. The Action Gaming TR, are you doing code review? Sort of, kinda. We're working on we're working on an implementation of our song API in MonoGame, and I'm waiting for the CI build to just kind of like going on over here, waiting for our CI build to double check that everything worked. And while that's happening, instead of sitting here staring at the screen and twiddling my thumbs, I am looking at a potential other issue. So it's sort of code review, but really implementation. So let's see. So I was going to see if there is a submit buffer. Buffer needed during playback. That test is probably the one that I need to look at here. Let me just run this test and see it. It's going to fail, I think. Yeah, it's going to fail. Expected 3-bit was 0. These are hard to test because they require timing. So I'm pretty sure the buffer needed event handler is not getting called in this case. Oh yeah, there's a breakpoint here. It never got called. Well, I mean, let me debug. Yeah. So never got called. It got here and never got events. And that is because, so the sleepwall dispatching, that calls the framework dispatcher. So another question, which API for songs would I like to make my own Spotify? I would like to make my own Spotify. I mean, in this case, this is just MonoGame. You know, it has a media player API that can be used to, you can give it a playlist, you know, its own playlist concept. You push a bunch of files into a playlist and say, hey, play these, and it will play them in sequence, and you can tell it to loop the sequence and all that stuff. It sort of works like that, but it's really not for streaming audio unless you want to write your own streaming backend. Hey, there's our normal spam. Goodbye, spammer. Let's see. So yeah, I don't know if this is the best thing to make your own kind of Spotify thing. I think someone has. I think there was something that was posted sometime back in our Discord about that. But you know, making a Spotify is a much more complicated process. So we were failing. Okay, we're going to look and see where the dispatch comes in, because it seems like it should be working from what I saw, but it's not. The question is why. Go definition. Update. So it updates the playing instances. It's going through here, and it calls target not equal null. It's not disposed. Call update queue. So it should be getting here for this guy. So it does, and this does nothing. But then it does. Looks at the buffer needed event. Okay, so that's why. It's because this is not checking to see if buffers are needed. Now, I can do the lazy implementation here as much as I hate it. Here's the lazy implementation. Since we already have this loop here, and I've not seen anybody ever complain that this has been a performance bottleneck for them, but it sort of sucks. So buffers needed is part of this. So what you have to do is I have to do void, and I need to call MBA voice buffer count. Cast my voice. I think this can't be called when it's null. Make that unsafe. Target pending buffer count minus, so that'd be 3 minus queued. So that'd be how many are needed at the time. I don't know if that'll work. Another question from the Action Gaming TR. In YouTube, young people are vibe coder, but you don't use any agent. Why? I don't use any agent because I write code. You know, AI for coding, I'm still not a fan of that. I like using it to search. I like using AI to search because I'm sick and tired of Google and all their ads and bad results. But AI is excellent for searching out information, but I don't typically use it to write code. It doesn't write code very well. If you know how AI works at its low level, you know that it's just throwing together random stuff on its own. So I don't really trust it fully. It's not really thinking. It's just a lot of, algorithm to put things together, and it's not in statistical, results, and it's not really code. So I don't trust it, but I do like it for learning how APIs work, learning how things are generally implemented, ideas, things like that, but generally not to code. For code, I use my brain. So this should get me an updated buffers needed, I think, and this might actually work. Let's test this. Because if I can implement this in here and it solves this issue, we can then move on and we can look at making it better later. So queued, so there's 3 queued, so buffers needed 0. Timing was bad here. This is where the timing thing is a problem. I'm going to run this without testing right now real quick. Still didn't like it. But was 43. Okay, that's a problem. I think what I need to do is if it's 0, do this. Otherwise, don't try. Yeah, let's try that. Nope. Was 44. How did it get there? Oh, I think I know why. So what happens is this is set to non-zero, right? It says, oh, buffers needed 0. Let me check and see. It looks at how many are queued. It says, oh, there's only 1 queued, so I need, target is 3, I need 2, so that it comes in here. And that says, if buffers needed are greater than 1, then fire off events. Then it sets it back to 0. So the problem is, though, is that it needs to because it's just based on a count and not an actual event of it actually adding or removing buffers. It keeps seeing the count being low because it hasn't filled them yet and starts just adding more to the count. So it keeps calling, hey, I need a buffer here, I need a buffer. So it can't really work like that, yeah, it really needs to be based on events for that reason. I mean, I could probably work out a way that I can implement this in math and make it work, or like potentially goof around with things like, well, if I submit a buffer, then like I could add a count to submission of buffers. So when we push a buffer, we increment a value, and when we read back, we decrement that value so that it doesn't give more than the events. But I don't know, that feels so hacky. I mean, I could try it real quick and see if I can make something work here. Just a test, because if that works, that might be interesting. Oh, our build failed again. I hate changing gears here, but let's see what our build fails for now. That's probably what the original error is. It doesn't know what uint date is. Oh, that's annoying. All the other code was fine. It doesn't matter. This is probably fine. The other thing was too cute. So yeah, that's the problem, is I'm missing a standard int. Duh. I'm surprised that MG common doesn't pull that in. Let's see. I mean, I could use R types. Yeah, let's just move to using R type, because then that will solve the problem. Let's see, a couple questions or statements. Action gaming. I think 2026 we will see NPCs with AI. I don't know. Who knows? I think they have some big breakthroughs in AI to make before it becomes widespread. There's still some missing sauce there. I think they've gotten the part where it can cut through data, pull a lot of data, and use the knowledge base of all the internet text and video and everything else. The knowledge base is there, but it still doesn't have the real logic to figure things out on its own correctly. This is C, right? Yeah, this code here was C code. Yeah, MonoGame is a C# library that, to access native libraries and native resources, it calls C code, C/C++ code. Let's see, Square Bananas. Hey, Square Bananas. Yes. Yeah, not sending a buffer during an event should stop auto raising. You can still submit a buffer, manually resume auto raising, at least with XNA. Yeah, I think... does it stop auto raising? I don't think it stops. I think it'll still send it if another buffer completes. I don't think it just sends one buffer needed and then stops. At least I don't think that's how that was implemented originally. Let's double check that while we're here, huh? Let me check. I'm checking the doc, the old docs. Nope. Oh wait, I'm talking about the wrong thing here. Yeah, they really. I'm looking for the wrong thing. Why is it not there? Is it because I'm in the wrong docs? I really hate when it does that. Yeah, god damn it. There it is. Microsoft is a weird thing where if you're in the wrong docs, it won't show stuff, and it drives me bananas. So yeah, what it was saying was that event occurs when the number of audio capture buffers while waiting playback is less than or equal to 2. During dynamic playback, when the pending buffer count is less than or equal to 2, gets called. Every time dynamic completes playing a buffer, then updates the pending buffer count. During playback, playing case is interesting. I don't know if we ever actually implemented this case, which is interesting. But and these two cases seem like they mean the same thing. During playback, when the pending buffer count is less than or equal to 2. Okay. Every time this sound effect instance completes playing a buffer and updates the pending buffer count. Well, isn't that? I mean, those seem like the same thing, because this is when it's less than or equal to 2 is only when it gets done playing a buffer. Like, I don't see how it would call it in any other case. I think this is, I don't know, maybe there's some subtle difference there that someone can point out to me, but it seems like it's the same thing. When the pending buffer count is less than or equal to 2. Updates the pending buffer count. Well, yeah, I mean, oh, are they trying to say, so it's not less than or equal to 2? I see what they're saying. So if it updates the pending buffer count, but it's not less than or equal to 2, it still calls the event. So it just always calls the event. I don't know. This doc is making me more confused. But more importantly, it's like, does this? Let me get back to this real quick and fix this. We can be handling this in the background. So I'm just going to switch it to using this, so I don't have to pull anything else in. It doesn't hurt anything. I'm surprised that we're including standard type there. Actually, no, let me fix the other, because if I don't fix it, it's going to be a pain in the ass. I'm pretty sure I don't want to use the wrong one here. I think standard int is the one that does that. Yeah. Seems like something to pull in first. Let me make sure that this all builds. And by pulling it in here, it's going to help every API just in case something gets missed. Let's see. It's really annoying that only breaks under Linux and it didn't break under other platforms for us. Little comment there. We'll push this. We'll let the CI go off and do its thing. We'll get back to the music stuff. All right, so let me check and see if anything is. All right, so let's see. What's the best way to do this? I think I could maybe increment something here to tell me that I've added a buffer, and only no, I mean, this is not going to work this way. I just really need to check, and I really just do need events when I get done playing a buffer so that it appropriately can update that pending count at that point. And that gets rid of, that potentially allows us to eventually get rid of that loop. It can do the thing in the right place at that point. So yeah, as much as I don't love it, it's doable though. The trick though is how to implement that. That's actually not a bad thing to show, is how to do that properly. So yeah, let's start with that. We create this system. We're going to pass in a, what's this? Native finish callback. What's that? Did I start doing this? Interesting. I think I started setting this up, then I stopped. Manage function pointing, call convention. I think the idea was I was going to pass this guy in here. What was I trying to do here? I think what I wanted, the idea was that I was going to pass in a callback here when I created the system that would be called whenever that occurs. Let's go find this guy. Where Banana says, actually, it may have been that if it needs to, but the user doesn't submit on the first event, it doesn't raise a second. Further consumes raise, though. That could be. IQI only. Hello, sir. Hello. IQI only. Yeah, it could be. I think this is how this worked. So we're making a static callback here that occurs whenever it gets passed into system create. That'll get passed as a function pointer into native code. Then in native code, it should be able to call it back. I hate when I do this. Native buffer and callback, then callback data. Well, of course it's callback data. It's part of the callback. It should just be called data. I mean, I should change it to what it actually is potentially, but we'll see about that. Let's start with this. So I'm going to go to create implementation. For now, I'm just going to go with the F audio implementation. We'll go there. Nope, I expanded my window. Can't see stuff. Oh, I need to run our generator for our APIs. I need to first build the code, and I can run this guy. Set a startup. No, it's still building. That's why. It says startup project. I'm just going to run that guy real quick. Oh yeah, this thing still has that problem, but it's fine. It did what it needed to do, which was it should have changed our API for this guy here. That's kind of something that we have that generates the native API. So it created this callback here, buffer end callback here. So it did a good job with that. That's good. I just need to add it here. And the system needs to hold on to this pointer. Nope. Well, does it need to hold on to it there? Let's see. I think actually it doesn't need that. I think I need to pass it to this guy if that guy wants it, because it's the one that has to do the actual callback. Because currently it's calling it back to free system resources. And it could also do the other. Yeah, let's have it do both. It's already talking system anyways. Damn it. Just gonna hold on to that pointer and call this. And this guy is going to it's going to call lock guard, call system free raw buffers. I'm going to, yeah, I think I want to call system. Yay, native song MonoGame is great. Yep. I'm going to have that done so that we can trying to get 385 out the door, and we want this native backend to be working at least at a decent level so that people can actually start using it and testing it. And song was something that was missing. It was kind of a big deal. Some of our samples use it, and that was problematic. So what am I going to pass here on this? I guess this raw buffer back, which is just that. I guess it needs to know which which voice it was. Without knowing which voice it was, it can't do this callback. So I think our raw buffer concept here has to hold on to a pointer to the voice. This is not a big deal. I want it to hold on to the voice so that when it gets here, it can call buffer end and pass the voice in as the callback, so that on the other side, it's like, oh, this is the voice that actually called it. But the problem is with the voice that actually called it is that I have no way to get back from the native voice to the C# object. And I'd hate a lookup table. This might be a case where we should maybe handle this at the native level and let the C# level just get the data. Like, I'm trying to do this callback back from native code back to C#. It's like, why I don't have to do that way. It introduces problems like every platform might call this from a different thread. Threading issues, things like that. It doesn't seem like it's helpful to do it this way. It's a lot of back and forth. If you think that there's a buffer every 250 milliseconds that it's constantly calling native calls back to C#, just seems like a lot of overhead, and I don't know if that's really necessary. Because what we really need to know is that a buffer ended, so we need to tell the system, hey, a buffer ended. You need to send an event for buffer ending. And it's already, again, you're not going to have a million dynamic sound effects. You're only going to have a couple. So what we really need is a way to tell it, that a consumable way that says, hey, a buffer ended is what it needs. And I don't know, I don't like the idea of adding something to the API for that, but maybe we should. Does the callback, let's see, does the callback, let me do a couple things. One, let's see what our build's looking like here. Where is it? Trying to find my window. There we go. Does fail or succeed? Still building. That's really annoying. I mean, maybe that means it didn't fail immediately, so that's good news, potentially. Man, those builds are slow. I wonder why. Something to look into later, or something to invest some money into getting some faster CI. All right, so that's still going. What I wanted to go look at was those docs. I think they're back here. Yeah. Where are the event args? This guy. I don't think the event args are actually anything that anybody actually uses, but I want to be sure of that. Slow builds the continuous fault. Yeah, that could be true. I don't know enough about how that is implemented, so I can't say for sure. Okay, event args is just event args. There's nothing special about it. I don't know if it has an actual. You didn't do anything with event args. Yeah, we just pass an empty event args, so we don't even use it. Yeah, so I think I hate implementing it like this because it seems so dumb, but let's just try it and see if it works. So let's not do this. This is overkill. I'm going to comment it out for now, just in case I don't want to, change my mind. Simon sent me a note on the builds. Great. Instead of doing that, I think what we want to do here is we do want to use this, but we want to call it the other way around. Let's go to the voice. We're going to keep track of let's say keep track of finished buffers. Let's just call it that for now. Call back. We can do it inside the system lock, maybe. I don't know if that matters too much, but let's do it there. Increment finished buffers. And it could be need to be careful there. I probably need to use the same lock whenever I read this, just in case. Also need to fix my raw buffer allocation. Square bananas. Let's see as a thing. I meant it can be done without callbacks from the framework dispatcher's part. That the sounds are updated, but the disadvantage is slow FPS, audio skips, like inactive game slows FPS. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I don't love doing it as callbacks like that. Even though it could be handled, like we could have a thread managing that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. Like, doing it as callbacks is probably the right way to do it. It means that the thread that's already running the audio system can give us a callback and saying, hey, this occurred. But I also don't like the native code calling back in a thread to C#. It feels dangerous. So yeah, I need to think about that a little bit more, but I'm going to keep with since we already have an implementation that does this at the C# level in the main thread, which is probably not ideal, agreed, but is shared code with all the platforms. Maybe leaving that for right now and dealing with that at a later date is a better approach here. Oh, my CI is making progress. So Linux built, so that's good. Progress, let's see if the other two build. And while we do that, we'll keep going here. So we're going to keep track of that voice on that raw buffer so that it knows which one it got done playing. I think we want to also, I think when I'm not sure if we play, do we want to reset the buffer, finished buffers at this point? Maybe. Let's say yes. Probably go in any order here, but that seems a little safer maybe. We'll see. This for sure should clear it. No, that's just actually, that's not all the state, it's just some of the state. So the idea was, and again, I don't love this, it continues to feel bad to me. I am 17, is it too late to learn to code? Absolutely not. You know, you can still learn to code. Yeah, anybody can learn to code at any point. The thing you need to do is just start writing code. You know, I happened to start writing code a very long time ago, you know, when I was, I guess, 10 or 11 or something like that. So I started writing code a very long time ago at an early age, but you don't have to. I use coding on a web app, and when I try to code native apps, my knowledge is scattered everywhere. I mean, you know, web app coding is still coding. You know, people make whole careers out of JavaScript. So I wouldn't discount that. So what I want to do is add another API here, which I really freaking hate. I really hate it. I hate it so much, but it's the simple way to make this work without native callbacks. I hate it when I'm in this point. It's like, it feels like there's a simple way that can get this working and we can ship it, and then there's a way to do this that, you know, that is maybe the right way, but is a lot more complicated, and that would require, and what stopped me with the callback was the C++ side doesn't know how to tell the C# side what dynamic sound effect instances came from. All I can do is tell it like, hey, I got a buffer ended event on this native voice, but it doesn't have the other. So to make that work, I'd have to pass in some kind of I either have to pass the C# object pointer down, which is very dangerous. You don't want to do that. Or I'd have to have a lookup crossing one to the other, you know, or I'd have to have a lookup table of, you know, buffer end events to native pointers, and then have this, you know, there was a lot of mess there to try to resolve that. And I really hated the idea of a dictionary lookup thing. And this is the simple case. So I'm going to go with the simple case for now. Yep. Decision made. We'll go from there. Let's see, where am I looking for? I want to go to, no, I don't even want to interrupt. Where's our get buffer? It's in here somewhere. Get buffer count. I'm just going to put it in here. Get so same as the other one, except it's finished buffer count, which only gets incremented whenever a buffer finishes. That lets us pull on the C# side, which it already did. And this will give us, you know, what we need. This will also consume the buffer count. So when it reads it, it assumes that you got the data you need, and it clears it back to 0. So it only gets called one time. Yeah, that's really going to be the only way to make this work quickly and simply here. So I'm going to go with this, and then that means that our C# code, let's see, nope, not in there. Is this it? Yeah. It's going to call this. Really, it's just going to call this. And technically, you'd probably do that. So this will basically say, hey, tell me how many buffers are needed. and then it'll call the right amount of events on the other side, and that will solve the problem, even though I don't love it. But it's simple, it works, and it will get us past this milestone, I think. But I think that this comment still applies. Should be handled internally by the native sound system. And what we need to do is we need to tell. We really need the native sound system to call a callback that is specific to a instance of a dynamic sound effect, and not just a callback that is. It needs to be called specifically to a dynamic sound effect so it can call the right event handler, or we need to pass some sort of way of passing that event handler down, so the native event handler can be passed down. But that's, I'm not sure what the right path is there, and I'd like to get this thing done. Oh, we had a build failure. Windows build latest failed. Great. Let's see what that's about. I don't see any errors. Really hate it when it tells me there's an error and there isn't. This spam is really annoying. Eventually I'll get to the actual error. Oh, look in there, right? It's getting really annoying, but I'm almost there. So namespace issue and audio test fixture base. That sounds about right. Let me get eyeballs on the error though. Does not exist in the current context. That's interesting. Windows DX test. Name. How is that possible? Okay, but that's threading run, which is, I assume that's the issue, right? Oh, I know what this is. This is Vulkan only, I bet. I suspect that this is not actually doing anything on does this class not get used? Does this just not get used in the Windows DX implementation? Maybe it doesn't. It could be that this isn't used at all in those cases. Let's find out. I just need to go look at the actual project for Windows DX, see what's happening there. Nope. Nope. Stop. Stop. Don't need the circle of death. Come on. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it looks like that type is not, maybe it's not included. Let's just open that project. Come on, thing. Wake up. There we go. Yep, this type is not used in Windows DX. So the reason I added that was because because of media players events weren't firing. Which I'm kind of not using this test anymore, but still the media events tests weren't, or code wasn't firing because it didn't because it was using let's see, event helpers raise, active song change. What was it? It wasn't that. It was the looping, I think, on song finished playing. It was because done playing, yeah, done playing was doing this, and that's what's using that callback. But that callback doesn't happen on, I assume on Windows DX that callback doesn't happen that way. Actually call it that. This is a completely different implementation. Yeah, it uses its own session end system that calls it a completely different way. So I just need to disable it on man, that's going to be a big question of like, I guess my concern is like, well, how do I know what platforms use it and which ones don't? I'm going to guess that everything that isn't Windows, isn't the Windows desktop, the old Windows desktop would use it. It looks like at least iOS uses it, Desktop GL, probably Android, and Vulkan. So I'm going to assume it's just those and console that use it. So what I'll do is, where is my test here? There. Framework audio. I'm just going to say false Windows DX for now. Wait, but what is it called? Goddamn. It's always like what the name of things are that drive me nuts. DX12 uses it, but this one doesn't. I think that, yeah. Feels kind of weak, but if not, DX. I think that'll fix it. Oh, some more posts. Threading is used on GLL-based platforms only. It's also used in the Vulkan implementation and the DirectX DX12 implementation now, because native is using it as a callback. I mean, it possibly doesn't have to. That's a whole other thing. Like, I'm doing this, I think, because I'm not sure why we did it this way. Oh, it's because we are using decoder stream, which is the background thread. That's the reason why we did it this way. So that's fine. No, thread sleep is fine. That's across all the platforms. It's just this one that is the issue. That's really our threading library helper. It's not part of the framework. Scribbinaz, threading is the class to run things on GL threaded calls, main thread, not needed for DirectX. Right, it's not that it's needed for DirectX, it's needed for the implementation. Here, the song implementation is the one that does the sound decoding. It has a decoding thread. In that decoding thread is where it calls the event on finish for the song. So when it does that, it's using the threading system, this threading API, to call it on the UI thread. And that's what's missing there. But Windows DX doesn't use this path, so it's fine. I think all other platforms end up using it. iOS, Android, Vulkan, Desktop GL, DX12, all the consoles will use it because they'll all be running the native backend. So I think this is the right thing. I think it's the only platform that wouldn't use it. So let's see if that's true. Unfortunately, we have to wait till our CI tells us it's true. So I could probably run the unit test for that here actually and verify. I'm already here, aren't I? Oh no, I did that. I could just open this guy. Oh, wrong one, damn it. Open the wrong one. Oh no. Come on, thing. I'll just test it real quick here to make sure that's not. Yeah, that's why it's not in the Windows DX project, correct. This is not used, so. Framework audio. Guess I just had to build, really. Succeeded, but before I do that, let me just out of abundance of caution, let me verify that that fixes it. I'm testing extra closely here because yeah, there he goes. That's the error. Testing extra closely here since I'm working kind of blind and the CI takes so long to run that I can't just assume the CIL. If I just assume the CIL get it and figure it out, then I might be here for another couple days waiting for it to fix. Where's our test? I'm not going to push this yet. Let's take a look and see what our tests are doing here. Okay, it looks like that's the only thing that failed, so everything else was okay. So maybe that's enough to make this work and we should be good to go. So we'll find out. We'd really like to have that all working so that we can actually push that thing. All right, so back to this. So yeah, I think the next step here was I had an API I was going to add that should do it. I'm going to run this guy. It's going to error out because it fails whenever it does, you know, doing something. The second pass that it does on this fails for some reason. At least that's what I determined last time. There's a second pass that fails here. It generates, it's doing this one for the native pipeline. There's a failure there. Not sure why, but it's not what I need to worry about right now. So that should have added in here this buffer count. Yep. And then in here, I'm just going to put it the same place where the other buffer count call is. Talking to the Windows, Square Bananas says in chat, talking of the Windows DX11 project, did you know we can use song from URI to play internet radio stations in game? No, I figured that might be true. So because the Windows DX implementation uses the Windows Media Player, like the actual Windows Media Player at the low level, it behaves in ways that the other ones don't. So it has a benefit that it does everything the Windows Media Player can, and the from URI allows you to pass a URL in, and the Windows Media Player will decode that URL, make a connection to the server and play streaming audio from it, which is kind of a neat feature, but we can't guarantee that feature across all platforms. So it's one of those things that exists for that one special case, but not everything else. I would think that if you wanted to do that for real, you'd write your own implementation of decoding data from a streaming server and then passing it into your own dynamic sound effect instance. But yeah, that's one of those things that there is no. It's hard to get a free lunch, something that works everywhere unless we spend the time writing it. Let's see, how else are we doing here? Where is this guy? There it is. I'm going to do this implementation here. Let me copy you first. I guess it doesn't really need much more than that. I'm going to consume this when we get it. Again, I hate this. It's very dumb. This code feels dumb. Seems like there should be a better way of doing this, but I'm going to live with that. Confirm through the logs. Threading issue is only the failure across the platforms. Yeah, cool. That's good to know. So with that in place, I think this will fix this guy. I mean, there might be some issues to deal with potentially, and I might want to actually make this an atomic operation just to avoid having any problems with it. So if I go debug this guy, it should get a call here, and finish buffers is 0. It's going to fail because of my timing here, I think. Should see that should hit. Why did it hit? Okay, there it is. Timing, you know. Okay. Again, it's going to break the timing. If I run it without, it might succeed. Here it is. So yeah, fixed. So it works fine under this condition, because if you start, that's the thing with things like this, like there's a separate thread that's playing audio, and if I start pausing the main thread, you know, the other thread might advance a little further than I expect, and when you continue, it's like how much time has elapsed, and it jumps forward in time, and next thing you know, you're out of sync. That fixes that. It probably fixes this guy and this guy. So those tests are fixed because of that. And that's working. This guy's working. What about this guy? Yeah, okay. So all these tests are valid now. Even though I think when I ran this last time, like it failed some, like if I ran them all together, it fails. No, it's working fine. Okay, good. So I'm going to fix this a little bit further. One, I'm going to switch this to be an atomic increment of some sort, because I don't trust that we might not have threading race conditions here with this. So I want to make sure that we don't have any kind of race condition that cause a problem. So this then brings up the question of how should I implement atomic here? I've been using standard for a couple things here. I think it's perfectly fine to use. So I can do this. And then use, where's our guy? Does that work? And I guess it's there to do that. This I want to do a little bit better way. I think there's like a yeah, I think that's what we want to do. Does he want to set 0 and get the old value? I think that means I can just do that. So I'm pretty sure that that's what that does. CPVreference.com is great. Value of the atomic data before the call. Yep. So we want it sets 0 and returns whatever it was previously. Nice thread safe way. This will just set it in the thread safe way. Set it in the thread safe way. So I think that covers that case. Don't need this on buffer end. I'll just kill that now while I'm at it. What else has to change? This guy has to change. I need to fix our audio. How's our test going here? Still going. Wait, did it fail again? Failing after what the heck? What it broke? What error occurred while preparing SDK package? Intel archive? God damn it, man. This bullshit. Oh, it's fucking Android bullshit. Yeah, I don't know. Some Android thing on Ubuntu. Who knows what the hell is going on there? I will just have it, redo it. Somewhere in here, there's a button to tell it to run this build. Stop doing that. Yeah, Simon says it's a host issue and he's gonna rerun the job. I thought I could rerun the job. I was surprised. I thought there was a thing here to say, hey, rerun this job. So I don't know, but Simon will do it. Whatever. That's the kind of thing that sucks, is when the build host. I hate it seeing the build host fail like that, because it makes me feel like the build host is unreliable, and an unreliable build host seems bad. Let's see. All right, so what was I doing? I was going back to revert some of the changes I made here. Basically, I added, well, can't revert completely here. Basically, I had that guy, and I added it here, and I need to stop doing that. And that's going to break the code over here, and that's going to lead me to this guy, which doesn't need to be there. I think that's everything. Yeah. Song needed is fine. Yeah, this. All right, it's rerunning those tests, but I think this is done as well. I'm gonna check stuff in, but I'm not going to push it yet. I'm gonna get this test to get done first. And I'll keep it as part of this PR. There's no reason to separate it out, I don't think. It's kind of part of song and stuff in a way. Oh, I need to fix the DirectX side as well. For those that never saw that other stream from a couple of weeks back, our DirectX or our X audio implementation and our F audio implementation are very, 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 very much the same on purpose. I kind of made sure that we kept the code as similar as possible so that, you know, we can share implementations. So the same thing will happen here. I need the voice, I need this atomic. So that is shared. Nothing is needed there. I thought I shared almost everything here. A lot more differences here than I thought there was. Seems cleaner, safer to do there. A couple things that are platform specific, but the rest is all not. That's a bug there, isn't it? Oh, what I haven't done is tested X audio. I haven't tested the song unit test on X audio, which is something I need to test. I guess the servers are doing that. Yeah, I need to test that, which means I think that's going to fail. But let's ignore that part for right now. Let's just get the thing we need in here, and then we'll run those tests too, because I think we need both of them. We'll do this. Same exact code. A couple more things we need to do. Set the raw voice. This is actually something I found that is going to fail as well, but we'll wait to deal with that till later. I just want to verify it fails once I run the test before doing anything else. I should match these up. Rearrange that. Might as well rearrange it here. Just trying to keep it as similar as possible. Doing this slowly. So is that everything? Yes. So that's everything on that. Let's switch over to the other unit test then. I pulled in the test for desktop VK. Let me pull in the test for, maybe I didn't add test for that. Let's see, add existing project. No, that should be in there. So test, test DX12. Add this project in here. This guy should build. Again, it should be, the only thing different here is X audio versus F audio. So it should produce the same results. So if I go to Test Explorer and go to test for that, don't want those tests, want these tests. Audio, song tests, I should be able to run these and they should run. And they don't. There's our start of our fixes. So let's fix this guy. I don't know if our servers are running these tests at the moment. Oh, I didn't fix that. Easy fix. Got to go here. Still set up. Yeah, I just got to run that. It'll rebuild that header, and then I can build that code again. It'll work. Ignore you. All right. Need to verify it's going to build the code. Just have to change something to make it build. All right. Building. Come on, build. All right. Back to my test explorer. I should be able to run these tests now. Failed, but I think that's because wait, what? Okay, let's run a debug on that. Let's see what happens. That's the first one, right? I said that this was wrong. So yeah, that test is wrong. That's how it ends up showing up, which is kind of annoying. What line is this? Basically, that test is inverted. Should be greater than or equal to. Something dumb that I found in the process of setting this up. That was inverted. So let's stop that. And then there was something else I saw there. I thought, I don't remember now. That's kind of annoying. Build this guy again. All right, our tests are still running over here. Or our CI is still running here. Okay, that one works. So, all right. I don't think you guys can hear the audio from that. I think I watched the video from last week and it seems like I couldn't hear it. I don't know if it's because of the music or just how my screen is being shared. But at the end, you can hear it say, like cut off on a 2. And that's something I'm not sure of what's happening there. It's something about the playback and the timing of things. We'll have to see if that ever actually becomes a problem, but something I noticed. So let me run these dynamic sound effect tests. They should all work. Okay, everything worked there, so that's good. So that fixes all that. But I could have sworn I saw differences here that I thought were a bug before. Of course, I don't remember what it was now. Let's go look back through here just in case. Won't hurt, right? Still running those other tests, or that build is still running, so don't know yet if that's going to all be good. So that's working. Audio create. No, this guy doesn't need to be there. I don't know why it's there. I thought I deleted that. So why doesn't this do this cleanup here? Seems like it should, huh? I mean, system shutdown is not super important anymore, but something I should look at real quick is that if we're here, at this point, we got 20 minutes left in the stream. I figure let's get this thing done. All right, so Linux built. Just waiting on Windows and Mac. Those succeed, then I'll feel good about pushing my last fixes here, letting it build one more time, and we can merge this thing. Probably not gonna get a chance to merge it on stream, but it'll be merged slightly after, and this task will be done, and I can get back to other things. All right, there's that. The Windows implementation supports WMA natively, and it doesn't on the X audio, but that's F audio, but that's okay, I think. I think it was around here. Oh, right, there was this. Yeah, that search should be there. You can call this with null wave data. It just allocates the size that you want it to be. It allocates the right size, but it just doesn't copy any data. That's the only difference. That's the thing I saw earlier. It's like, that's kind of a bug, but it's not really, it's an assert that was incorrect. This should be okay. And though I haven't tested the exact tests on this. All right, a little further here. Everything else is looking the same and pretty clean, just that one cleanup. Hey, Turtle. Wonder if we can get the bounding volumes in time for 3.8.5, or would we want to hold that until 3.9? I think we need to work till 3.9 or something later. I think we shouldn't be packing in more features here. We're just trying to make sure that the native implementation is complete enough that it's usable for people, so you can really get some testing on it. I mean, to be honest, 3.8.5 now is like technically 5 months. I think 4 to 5 months behind schedule. Not what we wanted to be, and it's because we were trying to add a couple things in there that we wanted to coincide with the 3D platform release, which we also wanted to ship with 3.8.5, and everything got messed up from there. But we're getting close, so a couple more things we can get it there, but I really want to push towards not adding any more functionality and just getting it shipped. Why isn't that necessary? Oh. Why isn't this stuff necessary here? I guess maybe because just the API it uses is different. I think maybe it doesn't, this API doesn't include this for that. I think that's something that's different in F audio. Anyways, more important, I wanted to see the cleanup code. See if we should actually be calling cleanup code, and we're not. I think that question is valid for both sides. I'm just going to copy this code across and then go figure out why it's broken. It's going to be broken. When I compile this, it's going to tell me, oh no, it's broken. Yep. So do we have a reverb voice? We do. And they're just, yeah, so those just need to be actually freed. I think I just need to call destroy voice. Oh, I need to destroy it and release it. These cheat. Huh. create it. For some reason, I need to. I keep thinking like reverb voice, or these types are the same as like XNA types that are, you know, that are COM interfaces, but maybe they're not. Their docs here are actually fairly good. Maybe I just need to call destroy voice. I don't know what this release is he has there. That might be specific to it is an interface. No. I could have sworn there was a release on this, but maybe I'm wrong. Usually there's add refs and deck refs, but whatever. I'm just gonna do the things that make sense here. There's a piece there. Start engine never called in here. I'm going to assume this is good enough for now. Make sure it compiles. Simon says, ship it. Its new functionality can also be tested in 3.8.5, so it's not breaking anything. It's not that it's breaking anything. It's that, you know, nobody's gotten to vet it. If we decide later that we want to change the API a little bit or make changes and it breaks things for people, I think we need to let the draft sit for a little longer and let us, like, I haven't gotten a chance to even look at it closely. And it's like, I think we should have everybody on the foundation team get a chance to look at it in depth and make sure that things look correct before we release it, just to not release something and find out later it's like, oh no, we should have fixed this, this, and this, and then have something that breaks for people that might be depending on it. And if the next release after 3.8.5 takes a while, then that'll get slowed down. It's like, I'd rather be sure that we, you know, measure twice, cut once kind of thing, and just verify before we get it done. I don't mean let's hold it forever, and I'd rather not have another release take forever. I want to do more frequent releases. 3.8.5 just kind of got out of control, and we're not going to let that happen again. All right, so while that's going, I don't think that the shutdown does the shutdown ever really get called? Let me just run one of these guys and see. Oh, I'm going to debug run it. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, shutdown's never really called, but whatever. That's fine. All right, so our Windows and Ubuntu built. Mac is still on the list for building it. So, but we have progress here. So let's commit those changes. Wait, what? Could have sworn I included those earlier. Oh, that's really annoying. It puts in some hidden characters that can't be seen. And then it doesn't want to work properly. Then once you do this, then it'll get rid of them for whatever reason. Some white space character it adds in there. Same thing here. Some white space character it adds in, and until you actually add them and remove them once, it doesn't get cleaned up. All right, so that's all that. I think that's everything. I'm not going to commit changes to this. All right, so that's ready to go. This guy's still building. All right. So yeah, I'll do this for right now. So yeah, while we wait for this finished building, let's see. Ours Turtle replied, "Yeah, definitely want to make sure everyone gets eyes on it. I have a demo application alongside to show everything working can be used while reviewing." I mean, the most important thing, I mean, demo application is good, but I think we also want to have like a unit test that we feel is strong. If there's a unit test, it's awesome. That's what we really do need, is to have verification that all of it works and it's proper, so that if anytime we change it, or let's say somebody gets a wild hair and says we want to optimize it, that we can verify that we didn't break anything. So yeah, so Slowpoke Mac is still being built. So yeah, unit tests, that's the important part. So, all right, so I think we can say that the song stuff is all implemented now and is good enough for the native release. That leaves a couple of other things that we need to address. And, you know, maybe you guys have some opinions on what I should do next. So I want to go back and finish that storage API, or the save game API. That's kind of high on my priority list. It's not required for this next release, even though I'd like to do it, but, you know, you can probably hold on to it. Arsenal says, "Oh yeah, there's hundreds of tests already, but more are always good to add." Yep. So great. There's tests on that Bounty volume stuff. So I want to get back to the storage API stuff, which is a new implementation of the old storage API used for saving in XNA. A new implementation of it with some improvements to allow us to do that across platforms like consoles and mobile and desktop, and have something that's unified. So that's something that still needs to be finished, but it's not really priority to 3.8.5. It'd be nice to get out there, but it isn't priority to that. It could go out in a more minor release after, potentially. The other thing I wanted to look at, which is something that's been needed for a while and would really help us on the native API, is to implement the video playback. And that might be something I might have to dive into. You know, there's other things that I possibly need to deal with on the console side of things that maybe I need to focus on that. Unfortunately, the console stuff I can't do on stream. You know, as much as I'd love to do it on stream, I can't do it on stream. I will probably, you know, it'll set the internet on fire for a day, and I'll get stern calls from, you know, console manufacturers about, hey, you can't do that. That's my worry, at least. So I don't think I can do that. But I think what I could do maybe is look at video playback as another piece of this puzzle that has been sitting there unfinished for a while. The API that we already have an API for this, and I have implemented it on another platform. You know, it works the same sort of way, where there's this API here, a video decoder create, which returns a video decoder object that can then be called from C# to grab video frames and grab audio data. because it returns a video decoder, but it also where is that? Returns a video decoder. But what else? It returns something in here, I thought. No, where is it? I had implementation. How does audio work with this? I forgot. Oh yeah, from the video decoder you can say get audio. The video decoder has an API that says video decoder get audio decoder, which will return an audio decoder for that video decoder. So you can get both the audio and the video streams, and these are implemented already in the C# side of things, where yeah, it's in video native. Yeah, so this, I think this comment hasn't been updated. I did test this on the native code or on a console with their native API, but I need to do it here. But it's the same basic thing. It creates a decoder stream. In the decoder stream, it creates a sound effect, voice, and then says, hey, we're going to step through here and check what the state changing whenever, from the outside, they say play, pause, stop. This is telling it how to continue. And then it, if it needs to process an audio frame, it says if I have a voice and audio isn't finished, get a buffer. Get the buffer count. If it's less than 3, then decode a chunk of audio, push it back there. This is the same as kind of like the audio decoder works. Basically, just does it here and play the voice if it hasn't been started. And then the video does something similar. It's, if it hasn't finished processing video, it decodes a video frame. When it gets to that frame, it then creates a new texture from that frame. That new texture creation is the C# side texture, which it does suck that it creates it with a new and doesn't, that's kind of a bottleneck where it's constantly creating a C# texture object. It needs to probably be done in a better way that doesn't do that caches this guy. But then, yeah, so it just captures frames and returns them. Good enough, I think, for most video. It's questionable whether it's good enough for lots of, more than one 4K video at the same time, or lots of small videos, but that'll be something to see. But this might be the next thing that we really need to dive into as a new implementation, because we need it. Video support is important. Most games use it for things like startup stuff, and not really like, oh, looks like maybe it got done. No, it's running again. Okay. No, it's running the test now. Oh, those still might fail. Well, I don't know if it actually runs our test, but the build succeeded. Man, that was all the build and none of the tests. Gosh, the build by themselves took quite a while. 28 minutes for Mac build to get done. 20 minutes on Windows and 9 minutes on Linux. Crazy. All right, so this is successful here. I'm going to just gonna push my stuff while I'm here. Who cares if it's going to cause it all to build again? At least it's done. Okay, did that go? Oh, I didn't. Did I? Sworn I. Yeah, I did push that yet. Last fixes force. All right. Let's see. Script Bananas. So bringing back Xanate's media player get visualization data next time? Yeah, I don't think so. That's not going to be implemented. That kind of stuff all like fell off the wayside. That was a really hot thing. Visualizations off videos and stuff like that. That kind of all dropped off. It used to be super hot there for a little while, and then everybody stopped caring. So no, yeah, just implementing the video implementation. I think if we do this, that'll be a good final step to making this work. There's been an open task for it for a while, or issue for it for a while. No. On. Add native video player implementation. That's been there for a while, since July of last year. But the solution we came up with is that we want to implement this, the David VideoLAN codec. It's AV1 decoder. It works everywhere. The performance is really good. It's been tested in a lot of places. We feel like this is going to be the thing that gives us a good cross-platform video decoder that can do 4K. And I think that's probably our best bet. We'll probably add other ones, beyond this. Get back to regular video here. We can probably do others beyond this, but we want to start with one video decoder that works well, and then from there worry about expanding it further. So yeah, that's probably what I'll deal with next week, unless some other fire comes up, or if something more interesting pops up, then maybe next week we'll get to that, because it's probably higher priority and maybe a little bit more exciting than the save data is to get that to work. It'll be a big step forward. If we get a good video player that works, we'll be happy. And we'll start with the David codec, and then if we find time, or if someone else wants to jump in there, we could implement Theora, but the Theora video playback is pretty old. The performance is not good. It really can't do 4K, and it's probably not a good use of our time at the moment. But we'll at least get the David codec implemented, which should give us some good, high quality 4K capable video. And since it's implemented in native code, we can use it in theory on all platforms, including mobile and console. So we have one codec to work everywhere. They should give us good enough performance to ship everywhere. We don't have to worry about lots of differences everywhere. So that's going to be our next probably project next week. So all right, I want to remind everybody, thanks everybody for watching. Follow us on Twitch and YouTube. We're trying to expand our user count there. So if you're not subscribed to us on there, please do. We're going to be adding more videos or more streams here soon. I think our open hours is in 2 weeks here, and we're going to talk more about that and other things. Aristotle had a question. You ever see many MG projects come through for porting that are using Bink Video? Not MG projects. Yeah, I've seen some old native projects. We worked on one that the implementation of this game used video for all its UI, meaning like the background of the UI was video, but also every button in the UI was a video. So it was playing like 7 or 8 videos at once on any particular screen. It was kind of crazy, and it was using Bink originally. And yeah, more spammers. Goodbye. It was using Bink Video originally, but when we did the port, we said, you know what, let's port away from Bink, because Bink has Bink is great, but it has a pretty high license cost. And then we had to port to multiple platforms. So we said, let's see if we can get away with using Theora. And I thought, well, we could, because the video was not super high res. We were going to upscale it, but not that much, not the full 4K, and it could work. That was a nightmare. The Bink Video stuff was so much trouble, and it took forever to get it to work right. And it's something that I regret doing it that way. Maybe it was worth paying for the Bink license to not have to port any of that stuff. But if I had a better, more quality video player at the time, it could have worked. If I would have known about the David Dakota back then, I could have tried that, and that might have been a great solution. So yeah, next time. Also, donate. MonoGame's an open source project. Everything we do is kind of volunteer basis. Some of us are getting a little bit of money for doing these streams and for contributing code and for managing the console ports. But a lot of that funding goes towards just all our initiatives now that we're doing things like more bounties, more tutorials, implementing new platforms, filling out this native platform, and then very soon here the move to pushing more 3D support. I know that we're in the process of working on shipping the 3D platformer, which was all done through donations from you guys, and work on the back end to make a lot of things that were broken fixed for that. And we're going to be doing more 3D stuff and trying to make a push for making MonoGame easier to use for 3D, in particular 3D models and animated models. That it doesn't make it hard to do. It's kind of left up to the user, and we want to do more there. Other than that, yeah, I think that's it for this week. So thanks everybody for joining us. I'm Tom, and I will see you next week. Bye.